Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Waypoint, where I have once again been asked by the state to hand in video evidence of my time as a public servant to prove that I am indeed a law-abiding citizen, this time because I relocated to Vice City. You know, I have a time machine, so I went back like a decade and a half compared to the previous video, and here we are. Of course, in the last video, I proved myself to be a multi-skiller. I was not just a taxi driver, but I was also a ambulance worker as well, a paramedic, an ambulance driver, whatever you want to call me. I think I did a pretty good job there, but this time around I want to shake things up, so while I do start off my shift doing some taxi driving, I do as well put in some time with the police, with VCPD, I guess they are. You know, I wanted to show our boys in blue, or I guess our boys in beige in this case, that I was on their side. And there might have been some miscommunications along the way, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So anyway, fun fact, Vice City was the first 3D GTA that I properly played as a kid. Yes, I said as a kid, don't look at me that way. We all played these games as kids, and it's probably the one I played the most of. Probably, if we're going to count the PSP spin-offs, both this and Vice City Stories I played a bunch of, so it's definitely the setting I'm most familiar with, if nothing else. And I kind of went over some of this in yesterday's video, which we'll get to in a moment, because, I mean, spoiler alert for that video, GTA 3 shows up somewhere in that video, in the top 10 games that I played this year, and I talk about how, as a kid, I never played these games in terms of doing the missions. I always just fucked around in the open world. I didn't even really do the taxi missions or the paramedic missions and that kind of thing. I just ran around, beat people up, stole their money, pissed off the police, and played with cheat codes. That's pretty much how I enjoyed this game, and I spent hours doing this because I was a child, and you can make your own fun far more easily as a child than you can as an adult. I envy the children their ability to create their own fun. So it's been really interesting coming back to this game, loading it up again. You know, seeing it again with fresh eyes, enjoying the kind of, you know, patched definitive edition visuals, which I do think look nice, if a little bit plasticky. But also doing some of those missions, for reference, at the time of recording, I've unlocked the second island, I've done all of Ricardo's missions. I don't think I'm super far through the game, but I've played a little bit of it, and I don't love the missions. In fact, I think I prefer GTA 3 for its slightly more minimal story. Vice City has, you know, Tommy Vercetti, he talks, and there's a little bit more complexity to the plot and the characters and stuff like that. But it's just not really a genre of story I'm very interested in, and the whole badly aged, overt stereotypes thing, you know, that's a little bit more annoying when the characters are a little bit more pronounced, and therefore we spend a little bit more time with them, but hey. I'm still having a good time. I'm still paying attention to the story. I'm still playing the missions. It's not necessarily that I'm offended or anything like that. It's just mean humor just kind of makes me feel a bit ick, you know. But yeah, I didn't actually finish GTA 3. There's still 11 missions left for me to do in that game. I just hit a difficulty wall, and I realized that while I could bash my head against it and try and continue playing through it and maybe look up a guide for the mission I'm on and everything, I'm not sure I'm going to have that much fun with the remainder of the game if it's going to continue to be that absurdly difficult. And honestly, having unlocked the entire map in GTA 3 and hit $1 million and done the majority of missions, I think I'm happy to be like, yeah, I'm satisfied with that game. I don't need to complete it, you know. In that great big backlog spreadsheet I actually have a category for satisfied. It's a little bit of a paler green than finished, but it's there mostly for like racing games and stuff where it doesn't really matter if you finish them. But, you know, I don't normally reserve that for single player games with a definitive ending. But I think I'm happy to do that for the GTA 3. I might go back and try and finish those missions for like achievements and stuff. But no, I think I'm happy to move on to Vice City. I think I've had my time with GTA 3 for now. Gonna keep it installed so I can load it up and, you know, look for hidden packages when I feel like it, or just mess around like I used to as a kid. Maybe I could do some live streams playing a game as I used to as a kid. The only problem with GTA 3, and I don't think this is the case with Vice City and San Andreas, but in 3, the further you get through the story, the more gangs get pissed off with you, and it makes that game borderline unplayable just roaming around the open world because of so many people just come running up to you with like Uzis and AK-47s, and they just like kill you instantly. It's a weird problem with achievement hunting in that game where it's like, if you really want to get every single achievement in that game, you better do all the side stuff as early as possible, because as soon as gangs start shooting at you, it becomes impossible to like drive through certain locations without immediately getting blown up. But I've looked at achievement guides for just kind of like overall, this is how you want to structure your gameplay, visa, missable achievements, that kind of thing. And for Vice City, it doesn't look like that's the problem, so that's nice. It is also fun to go back and play Vice City, knowing that GTA 6 is going to be set in Florida. I think I talked about this a little bit last week. I'm not really that excited about GTA 6, but since I am playing through free Vice City San Andreas, I also kind of plan to go into like GTA 4 and then like the single player mode of GTA 5 as well. That's kind of what I want to do playthroughs of. We'll see how long my attention is held. And then I want to do, like Saints Row 2 and 3 and 4 again and all that stuff. I own Sleeping Dogs. I've never really played that game. Just Cause 3, I bought that game on Steam long ago and then never really played it because my PC couldn't handle it at the time. That's an old PC. My PC now should be able to handle it just fine. And, Cyberpunk 2077 is on sale, maybe I should get that. Anyway, completely lost the thread of what I was saying. It's interesting playing Vice City for GTA 6, that's all. San Andreas was quite unrecognisable in GTA 5 compared to GTA San Andreas, though. There were like a few areas which you could kind of be like, oh, this is here, but I imagine they're going to reinvent Vice City in a similar way with GTA 6, so... Maybe an old Tommy Vercetti will show up. I think he survives the story of this game, I don't quite remember. I've never finished it, like I said, but I've watched other people play it. Anyway, enough about bloody Grand Theft Auto. What's going on in gaming this week? Well, the Game Awards happened, and I already have my video on that. Normally I would use the weekly waypoint to talk about the Game Awards, but there was, too much to talk about this year, and I kind of wanted to give it its own video. It felt overdue. So if you were not already aware that that video exists and you're curious about my thoughts on this year's Game Awards, you can go ahead and check out the channel. Or, if I remember, I'll put a little card in or a little link in the description below. One day I'll crunch up my words so bad that an entire paragraph will take like 2 seconds to speak. But anyway, I don't have too much else to say about the Game Awards. I think they were better this year. I do like to listen to other people's kind of commentaries as like, watch-along streams kind of thing in the background while I'm doing other things after the fact. And, oh my god, one of these groups that I listen to, they were so cynical. Like, fairly early on in the Game Awards, I was like, oh, this is clearly better than last year. They've already addressed some things. They've got some interesting things happening. But they were just cynical for like an hour and a half into it. And I was like, I don't think I can listen to this anymore. I get being cynical, and I'm certainly cynical by default when it comes to like reacting to things on a live stream. Not that I do that very often, but for some reason that is a thing in my brain. But I think I'm running out of time for people who don't want to be curious about things, or who go, oh, this is so cringe, oh no, I'm not comfortable with this entire thing. Like, yeah, sometimes things are staged and they don't come off right, but you know what, the intention behind it is more important than the actual thing that happens. We're all here to have a good time, and I think sometimes people can get a little bit overly, I don't know. We don't need to dwell on it. A lot of good stuff got announced though. But yes, 'tis the season for end of the year wrap-ups where we go and look back on all the different games we played and choose what our favourites were. Yesterday's video was my top 10 games that I played this year, so if you're curious, I already kind of mentioned this earlier, I know, but if you're curious about the top 10 games that I played this year, it is there in video format and in blog post format, so if you just want to read about it instead of listening to my voice, I was going to say something really mean about myself, but I'm going to take the day off of that one. You can go to kritigri.wordpress.com for the blog post version. But I do put a fair amount of effort into, that post and that video and stuff, a little bit more than I normally would. So, yeah, feel free to check it out if that interests you. I mean, I know it's a very personal thing. Oh, what did Christian play this year? What was Christian's personal game of the year? That kind of thing. But I don't know, man, it's fun. The thing with how I do it as well is I don't do it by the games that were released this year, because I never play enough of the games that were released within this year. I just do the games that I happen to play this year, so there's going to be things in there from any period of time within gaming. But yeah, it's also the time of the year when various gaming platforms give us our yearly wrap-ups and tell us, what did we play this year? And I'm... as of the time of recording, Steam's has not come out. I'm very excited for Steam's, because honestly, Steam's 2023 year in review thing is kind of what prompted me to get back into the Steam ecosystem and PC gaming as a whole. It was overdue because I had already owned this PC for about a year when it came out, but for some reason I was still mostly using my Xbox for gaming, and something about the way Steam presented that stuff just reminded me how much I love the platform, and yeah, I'm stoked because it's definitely been my main gaming platform this year. I'm stoked to see what like a fully representative version of my year in gaming through Steam could look like. Because last year it was like, oh, you played a bit of Baldur's Gate 3 and a bit of Star Wars The Old Republic and a bit of Guild Wars 2, and that's about it. But I'm also making a video this year of me going through these year in review things. I've already recorded the Xbox and PlayStation ones. I'm waiting on Nintendo and Steam, because I think it's fun to look at that data and kind of go, huh, look at them games I played. Didn't expect that. I'm putting out a fair amount of, you know, kind of game of the year, end of the year, analytical content this year, so, you know, look out for that. I'm finding it very fun. It's probably tying into my spreadsheet madness, if I'm honest. Because I believe I mentioned this elsewhere, but in case I didn't, I do have a new spreadsheet for those year in review things for the data, because that data's always temporary. They give it to you, and then it disappears either next month or the next year when they put out the new year in review. So I've got a little spreadsheet window where I can put that stuff in and compare it year over year, and I've also got a little tab in that spreadsheet to present the, you know, top 10 games that I played this year, and putting that into a little spreadsheet where I can see them all side by side and see what I played during each year at a glance. It's an interesting way to view that information. But speaking of spreadsheet madness, because it is technically a spreadsheet, even though it's not really being used for a spreadsheet, I have started a new spreadsheet/document, which is basically a gaming journal. And this is never going to see the light of day, it's never going to be published anywhere, it's not going to be interesting to anyone but me. It's not even really going to be interesting to me on reflection, it's more of a tool. I clicked on a brilliant video the other day called How to Get Back Into a Game According to Science by Mark Maxwell. And I won't spoil the entire video, you should go watch it for yourself because it is a good view, but you know, as someone who has not just this giant backlog of unfinished games, but kind of like feels discouraged to start new RPGs that he's interested in because he knows he'll never finish them. I don't know why I'm referring to myself this way in third person, it's weird. It's the kind of thing I'm interested in. Years ago I would have looked at those videos and been like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter what your gaming habits are, just have fun. But I do want to finish more games, so I watched that video. And one of the things in that video was, one of the great ways to get back into a game after you've dropped it is keep a gaming journal. For a few different reasons, but one of the main reasons being you forget where you were at. Like, especially in RPGs, you forget what you were doing, and most RPGs aren't like Dragon Quest and they don't give you like a little adventure log of this is what happened last time. And so if you do create a journal, it takes like 5 minutes at the end of each day to just be like, I played some GTA 3, I played these missions, you know, unlocked this. Next time I want to do these missions and unlock this. And, you know, if you're playing an RPG, this is what happened in the story, you know, I unlocked this spell, that kind of thing. And the idea is, if I want to go back and get back into a game that I've fallen off of, like 6 months later, I can go back to the last journal entry and just quickly refresh myself and be like, okay, what was I doing last time? What was the story? Where was I in the game? What was I up to? What were my plans? I think that's the most important thing. What were my plans that I was going to do next? Because the amount of times you load up an old save file and you're like, where was I going? But aside from being a useful tool, it's also just fun and interesting to just log your gaming activities. And I think it definitely helps keep me like on task for like, I want to play through this game. When I write down what I want to do next, and then the next day I go back and I fill in a new entry and I'm like, this is what I did, I accomplished that thing. It feels good and I want to keep feeling good. So yeah, I'm not going to say this is going to revolutionize my gaming habits or anything like that, but it's definitely working as intended so far. I made a conscious decision to stop playing GTA 3, as we talked about earlier in the video. I don't know that I would have done that if I wasn't keeping the gaming journal and thinking like, oh, I think I'm going to stop playing this game, but I'm going to have to explain why. and that's not a thought process that would have happened before. I would have just gone on to the next game. And a goal-oriented thing as well definitely kept me in for a few more sessions than I might have otherwise, and I'm glad that it did because those gaming sessions were pretty fun. Again, if people were interested, I would be tempted to share the gaming journal, but I mean, it's going to contain spoilers for a bunch of random games because it is literally me going, this character died last time, and remember that you're trying to save this character, you know, stuff like that, so I don't think it would be very interesting or helpful. By the way, oh, let's try that again. By the way, one of the other things that Mark Maxwell guy said in that video regarding getting back into games is spending time consuming positive content about the game in question, as in like other YouTubers' videos about, you know, this is what I'm up to in RuneScape at the minute, I'm having such a good time. And while it sounds weird to like go out of your way to seek being influenced, I can tell you from personal experience, this is how I got back into reading books. One of the reasons, anyway. I discovered BookTube. I discovered freaking Daniel Green. Other booktubers are available. And I binged a bunch of his videos, and I listened to him talk about fantasy and the genre and his favourite books and why, you know, spoiler-free stuff. And I went, fuck, I want to read these books, and now I'm reading far more than I was before. If you miss something and you want to get back into it, go out of your way to get influenced by an influencer who's going to tell you fun things and positive things and excitable things, hype things about the thing that you want to be hype about. It works. You can trick your brain that way, at least if your brain is anything like mine. You know what, I'll pick an example that doesn't apply to me because I don't know how to play any musical instruments. If you miss being excited about playing the guitar, go look up videos about people learning to play guitar. You know what I bet you're going to want to do after watching some of those videos that inevitably exist? You're going to be playing guitar. Fuck, maybe I should start watching videos about writing. I mean, actually, I'm making a joke, but ever since listening to Brandon Sanderson's podcast, I have been writing a little bit more, especially when he does episodes about writing. The brain meat. It is malleable. The grey matter can be stretched and squashed to our own will. I hope you're enjoying the carnage that's been unfolding in the background here, by the way. I've been helping the police out, and they've been, you know, quite enthusiastically helping me, but at the same time, they seem to be running into me a lot of the time. That's clearly a misunderstanding. Anyway, while we're talking about books, I don't have that much to update you on in terms of what I've been reading. Not because I haven't been reading much, but because I've been reading a ton of the same book. I'm now a third of a way through Howling Dark, which is the second book in the Sun Eater saga, or trilogy. It's not a trilogy. Why would you call it a trilogy? Series, or whatever you want to call it. That's what I was going to end that sentence with. And fuck, it's so good. It's so fucking good. I think my whole multi-book strategy is falling apart because I'm looking at Ship of Destiny and I'm looking at freaking The Two Towers, and they're both looking back at me like, bro, why aren't you reading us? You're supposed to be reading 3 books. You're supposed to be juggling them. You're supposed to be doing the thing where you lose interest in one for a bit and then you pick up interest in another. And I am just face-rolling Howling Dark because that book is so good. Someone commented on my previous video, my blurbal reasoning of the first book, telling me that it's a great time to get into it because the final book is going to be coming out next year. But I'm honestly worried that I'm going to finish the series that's currently available before the next book comes out next year, and it's not going to be a seamless reading experience. But I know there's novellas to fill in the gaps and stuff. I don't know if I should be reading them as I go or not. I did notice that what Goodreads calls like book 1.7 was written like after book 2, and it doesn't seem to be important like it takes place between book 1 and 2, like it kind of does, but not in any meaningful way because it's based on a side character that we apparently never meet again, etc, etc. But if anyone has any more information on the novellas and how I should approach them in terms of reading order, feel free to let me know. I do plan to read through the Stormlight Archive, kind of going like book novella, book novella, book novella in order, but I might just do it by order of release because that's easiest, because that's how people would have read them as they came out. More and more as I go on in life, I'm becoming an advocate for just watch it in order of release, just read it in order of release, because no matter what the chronology is, there's always going to be some information that gets dropped somewhere that you're kind of half expected to know, but not really. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in whatever I make next.